Welcome, mathematicians. It's Professor Pandemic back again for another lesson. Today our objective is being able to divide by one-digit divisors. So let's get started. So we'll draw our nice division bar. The divisor is the number that is outside of this division bar. So right now, the 2 is our divisor. We call the number under the division bar the dividend. So let's say we have 48 for our dividend. And in division, the answer to our question is known as the quotient. So we're actually trying to solve one-digit division problems to find a quotient. Now here's how you do it. The first thing is you have to start with dividing. So I'm going to do a little dividing sign right there. That's our first step to divide. We have to figure out how many groups of 2 we can make out of 4. And if you have to use your basic facts for this, please do. So 2 times 2 is 4. We can make 2 groups of 4. So that means we put our 2 right above the 4 because we're dividing into the tens place. You always want to make sure everything lines up nice and equally for a division problem, so that way you know you don't have to divide into a number twice. The second step is now we multiply. 2 times 2 is 4, and we write that 4 right underneath. The next step in division is subtraction. 4 minus 4 is 0. And then what we have to do at that point is we have to look at what we've subtracted and our divisor. If our number that we subtracted is smaller than the divisor, then we can bring down the 8, which is our next step. Bring down. And I'm going to write bring down. If, however, this number was, let's say, a 3 or a 4, that means we are bigger than our divisor, which means we can get more groups, which means that 2 isn't going to work, and we have to go back and find another number. The last step in division is known as redo. So you have to keep redoing the division in the same exact steps until there are no numbers left to bring down. So since we brought down the 8, we have to go right back to the beginning. What times 2 gives us 8? Or how many groups of 2 can we make out of 8? If you use your 2 facts right, that would be a 4. We multiply again. 2 times 4 is 8. We then subtract. 8 minus 8 is 0. 0 is smaller than 2. There's nothing else to bring down. So you could write remainder 0 because there's nothing left over here. Now, how to find out if you're correct? You take your quotient, which is 24. Can I switch sides? The way to check division is to multiply. So you take your 24 and you multiply it by your divisor, which is 2. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 2 is 4. If your checked answer is the same answer as your dividend, you have found the correct answer in most cases. So let's do a couple more examples of this. Now, friends, we have upped it to our dividend having 3 digits, still a one-digit divisor, but let's check it out. How many groups of 3 can go into 3? That should be 1. Multiply. 1 times 3 is 3. We subtract. 3 minus 3 is 0. 0 is smaller than 3, so that means I can bring down my 6. And now I have to redo because I still have more digits to solve. How many groups of 3 can I get into 6? That would be 2. 2 times 3 is 6. And 6 minus 6 is 0. 0 is smaller than 3, so I bring down the 9. And now I redo one more time. How many groups of 3 can I get into 9? That would be 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 minus 9 is 0. And we have a remainder of 0 here. Let's go check our work. 123 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. And our answer checks out. So, In your class, you may want to practice a couple more of these problems where you're just kind of practicing the process of division. When we continue our lesson, we're going to add the difficulty up a little bit and start adding remainders and times when numbers might not come out exactly perfect. So, do a couple practices to make sure the process is okay, and we'll see you in a minute. Welcome back, friends. We have now made it to a 4 by 1 digit problem, which is the goal for this week's assignments. So you start the same way. You start with 5 thousandths, but this time, notice, we don't have a nice, easy number to go into here. So you have to come as close as you can. How many groups of 4 can you make out of 5 thousandths? Well, you can still make one group of 4 here. But this time it's not going to come out even because 1 times 4 is 4. So now you're going to have something left when you subtract. 5 minus 4 is 1. And just like before, you make sure when you subtract, this number is smaller than your divisor or outside number. It is, so I can bring down and make this an 11. Now you still redo. So now you think, how many groups of 4 can I get out of 11 hundredths? Well, if you skip count by 4s, 4, 8, 12. Once I got to 12, that's more than I need, which means I only need 2 groups. So that means I have 2 groups of 4. 2 times 4 is 8. Remove the protractor from the equation. 11 minus 8 is 3. 3 is still smaller than 4, so I can bring my number down. And now I have 33. So notice my numbers get bigger the longer these problems get. I'm at 33 tens now. So my suggestion with this is don't skip counting at 4 and work all the way up. Think of a number at the end, like maybe 4 times 7. 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times 8 is 32. 4 times 9 is 36. So 36 is too big, so I want 8 groups. Because 4 times 8 is 32. That gives me, when I subtract, a remainder, or 1 left over, still smaller than 4. I bring down my last number, which is 14. And I can kind of look here, based off of some stuff I've already multiplied, that 2 is probably not big enough, but 3 would be, because 3 times 4 is 12. And notice here, when I subtract, I ended up with a remainder of 2. There's nothing else to bring down, which means now I have a remainder. And I write remainder 2 at the end of my problem. You check your work the same way, but when there's a remainder, you add one more step to it. So, let's say I had 1,283 as my quotient. We multiply by 4. 4 times 3 is 12. 32 plus 1 is 33. 8 plus 3 is 11. 4 plus 1 is 5. Notice I'm off by 2 here. That's because we still haven't done anything with our remainder. You have to go add the remainder back in, and then you notice our answer checks out. So if you have a remainder when you're checking your work, remember to add it back in, because if you forget to do that, you're going to be off by a couple problems. So we're going to do one more problem like this, and then you'll have some time today in class to work on some problems, and we'll continue this work the rest of the week. All right, friends, last example for today's Mr. Pandemic lesson. We have 7,206 divided by 5. So let's check it out. I can make one group of 5 to go into 7,000. So 1 times 5 is 5. We subtract. 7 times 5 is 2. 2 is smaller than 5, so I can bring down my 2. And now I'm at 22. I can get 4 groups of 5 out of 22 because 5 times 4 is 20. 22 minus 20 is 2. 2 is smaller than 5, so I can bring down my 0. Again, we just saw 20 here work, so I'm going to put another 4 there. 5 times 4 is 20. That actually gives us a 0, which is definitely smaller than 5. So now I can bring down my last number with a 6. I can get one group out of that. 6 minus 5 is 1. It's smaller than 5. There's nothing else to bring down. That gets us a remainder of 1. We go over to check our work. 1,441 times 5. 5, 20, 22, 7. Add our remainder of 1. 7,206 is our answer. So my suggestions, friends, as a professor of mathematics, is always make sure you check your work after your answer, because that'll let you know if you have the right answer or not. And the biggest things I see 5th graders do when doing division and making mistakes is, 1, they don't check their subtraction, and they move on ahead of time. And that will mess up the whole problem. They also don't line up their numbers when they're dividing. Look at all my numbers. Everything lines up if I put a line horizontally through it. So the better organized your work and the more carefully you work at it, and by checking your work, the more likely you will be confident that your answer is correct. So in your class this week, you'll be doing more one-digit division. If you have questions, please come back and rewatch this video or ask your teacher. As for me, I'm Professor Pandemic, and I'm wishing you a great time dividing by one digit. Have a good day, friends.